When you meet someone for the first time, what do you call them? If someone's name is Sarah, you wouldn't call them Jane. It isn't considerate. And in the case of accidentally calling someone by the wrong name, it is likely that one would react with embarrassment, as such misidentification is considered rude. As a society, we recognize one's right to self-identify. When a contortionist squeezes their body into a box, they bend in ways that are seemingly impossible, touching their head to their inner thigh, reaching their arms behind their back. It's so impressive that people stop in their tracks to watch as someone disappears before their eyes. It's so impressive that audiences gather to watch in silent awe as the last limb disappears. But just because you can fit into a box doesn't mean that you should. When creating something, such as a Gmail account, there is always a question of gender, asking users to choose between categories of male and female. This can be seen on Yahoo Mail, Pinterest, Blogspot, YouTube, Gmail, and many other social networking sites. While many sites have begun to offer categories such as unknown, or prefer not to say, the persistence of the box still exists. This box is a physical manifestation of gender norms, where gender is and can only be understood in the binary of male-female. It has been argued that companies, since they are for-profit, need to sell this data box to large corporations, who will then in turn use it for advertising. However, what is the price of forcing people to consider these categories? How might it feel if you encountered these categories, knowing that you don't neatly fit into these clean-cut boxes? It's a question we already know the answer to. Research has supported that people who don't fit into the categories suffer from options of male, female, and other. While these limited choices, these individuals are being told that they're abnormal or don't deserve recognition for existence. Many of these individuals self-identify outside the binary, as their experience of gender is not through society's narrow definitions of male-female. Existing with a non-binary trans identity on these sites is also not easy. NO Bullying reports that 42% of LGBTQ youth have experienced cyberbullying, and many non-binary individuals have reported high amounts of threats and discrimination from peers. While many forms of cyberbullying exist, transgender and non-binary individuals are faced with frequent microaggressions, where people, most likely those uneducated about these identities, use the wrong gender pronouns. The consequences of these issues have taken place on the internet, where studies have shown that non-binary individuals have profiles that are more exclusive with less friends, restricting their profiles for fear of their safety. How do we combat these issues? It starts where all profiles and accounts begin. When companies ask you for your gender identity, it is a problem. Even companies like Facebook, which offer 52 gender categories, perpetuate the binary. How? Facebook gender identity options are reprogrammed within a binary software that codes 0, 1. This means regardless of the gender category you choose, you will still be encoded as male or female. Furthermore, Facebook actually sells this data to corporations that will then process this information to use for advertising. So while Facebook is increasing non-binary and trans visibility on their platform, they are still misgendering their users. In an interview with Rena Bivens, a professor of gender and social media at Carleton University, she states that misgendering has certainly come up as a problematic response to the existence of trans and non-binary folks, and so that is why I also found it to be problematic within Facebook's database. It would be possible for a company like Facebook to refrain from misgendering and be more open about what happens to data related to gender as it moves through the various systems and layers of software. While misgendering and forced gender identification are issues of safety and health for many trans and non-binary identities, the process of gender categorization on these social media accounts is an issue that concerns people of all gender identities. By forcing people into boxes, these social media sites are setting up a platform for gender policing. Gender policing is the enforcement of normative gender expressions on an individual who is perceived as not adequately performing through appearance or behavior the sex assigned to them at birth. Every time you set up an account, whether it be a Gmail or a LinkedIn profile, you are squeezing yourself into a box. Maybe you can fit into that box easier than others, but does that mean that all of us should have to squeeze our bodies as small as possible and rid ourselves of our dimensions? Social media is unique in its capacity towards allowing people to self-present and self-identify in ways they weren't able to before. By getting rid of gender categorization on these sites, an inclusive community free of gender policing would exist, where people on social media were able to increase visibility of gender nonconformity while also allowing privacy and safety for nonconforming gender identities. In this way, a trans femme activist states transfeminism looks like holding space and accountability for the ways that all of us, regardless of our gender, are capable of enacting patriarchal violence on one another. End patriarchal violence and advocate for the removal of these gender categorization processes by pressing and vocalizing for these companies that you value your right to self-identify over their exploitation of your data to advertisers.